All right, here again, we have those transitional words or introductory words. And it's just like for the commas. So remember that for commas, anytime you see any of these words, you surround them in commas. So anytime you see any of these words, like the ones in blue over here, the namely, for instance, however, therefore, i.e., that is, e.g., or for example, make sure you're surrounding them in commas. So there's a comma on both sides when you have them in a sentence. That's the comma rule. Now the semicolon part of that rule is that instead of using a comma in the beginning, you're going to change it to a semicolon. Now this is only if there is a complete sentence on both sides. If any of these words in blue are interrupting the sentence and it's only the entire sentence is one complete sentence on its own, then you leave it alone and just put the commas on both sides. But if you have a complete sentence on both sides of these words in blue, then you use a semicolon in front and a comma after. You could technically, again, use a period in front, but because the sentences are going to be directly related, we're using that semicolon instead. So for number one, you will want to bring many backpacking items. That's a complete sentence. And then you've got your other side. Sleeping bags, pans, and warm clothing will make the trip better. That's a complete sentence because you have a complete sentence on both sides, just like for that fanboys rule. Okay, you're surrounding in commas for introductory words or transition words for the comma rule, but then if it's a complete sentence on both sides, you use a semicolon in front instead. Okay, now if you see a sentence like this in the comma rules practice or quiz, you're going to use a comma on both sides because we're talking about semicolons here, that additional piece, that additional rule. We're using a semicolon in front instead, not after, but don't forget to have this comma after. Okay, surrounding commas for comma rule, semicolon in front, comma behind for the semicolon rule. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you see the others. And the next one says, as we discussed, you will bring 2 items. That's a complete sentence. A sleeping bag and a tent are not optional. That's a complete sentence. So because, again, you have a complete sentence on both sides, you definitely surround in commas at the very least. And because we're talking about semicolons here, you put a semicolon for this one and then keep that comma after. And then the last one, I have paid my dues. That's a complete sentence. And then I expect all the privileges listed in the contract. That's a complete sentence. So therefore, we have a semicolon in front and a comma behind. If you have any questions, let me know. These are a little bit harder for you guys.